back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday, March 12th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. I'd said the old link, GSMCpodcast.net. It really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. All right, so we gave you the old link and the new link. So make sure to use the new link. Don't listen to what I said. Again, still have that programmed into my brain. I've been good. I almost did it yesterday, avoided it, but just did it now. Again, just so used to saying the old link. But anyways, we have a lot to talk about today. A lot. We're going to start, basically everything free agency related today. We're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about all the running backs that got signed. There was a ton of deals, a ton of surprises, some moves that upset me, and we'll get into that. Then we'll talk about Kirk Cousins signing with the Falcons and some other quarterback moves as well. But that was the big deal. Kirk Cousins signing a 4-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons. Then we'll talk about a pair of wide receivers, T. Higgins requesting a trade. We'll also talk about Michael Pittman getting a new deal, some other wide receiver moves as well. Gabe Davis signing with the Jaguars, so we'll get into that. Then in the final part of the show, we're just going to talk about all defense. Big moves there. The Giants making a move, acquiring Brian Burns from the Carolina Panthers. Christian Wilkins signing with the Raiders. I mean, we're going to get into all that. But let's get into all the running backs. So, as you see on the segment title, the two that I put here, one of the surprises was Josh Jacobs signing with the Green Bay Packers. He signed a 4-year, $48 million deal. And for a moment, and I did a short on this, and that was the other thing. I had all my shorts done, scheduled to be posted, and some of them were definitely affected because things happened. For a moment, Packers fans were like, hey, we got Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones to form, this great 1-2 combination in our backfield. And then a little while later, Aaron Jones ends up getting released. And now he signed I believe it was a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Vikings. So now he's going to be their starting running back. So, yeah, Packers fans were definitely upset about that. But you're getting Josh Jacobs, who is one of the best running backs in the NFL. Did have a down 2023 as opposed to his, big 2022 season. Again, camera's kind of glitching out here, so I just want to fix that really quick. But yeah, I mean, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. I think he's 26, if I'm not mistaken. So, that was a surprise deal. And on top of that, the Packers, I think A.J. Dillon was a free agent. But yeah, A.J. Dillon wasn't coming back. So you brought in Josh Jacobs and you figured, okay, well, yeah, Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones, that's going to be a great combination. But they ended up releasing Aaron Jones. I saw that they wanted him to take a 50% pay cut. So I guess the two sides really just couldn't agree on that, and that ultimately led to him being released and going to the Vikings. So you had that. Then the other major move was Saquon Barkley leaving the Giants and signing with a division rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. He gets a 3-year, $37.8 million deal. And listen, I know a lot of Giant fans are upset today. For me, it stings a little bit just because he went to the Eagles, who are a division rival. But at the same time, I think the Giants did the right thing. Saquon Barkley has dealt with a lot of injuries over the course of his career. And like I've talked about many times, the Giants just have so many issues that signing Saquon Barkley to a massive deal like this only is going to hurt them, because the Giants just really aren't in a position to compete right now. They addressed the offensive line. They traded for Brian Burns, which we'll talk about later in the show. But, there's so many and the quarterback position, they got to figure that out too. So there's so many areas that they need to, improve on that, what they ended up doing, letting Barkley go. And they actually did bring in Devin Singletary. They signed him to a 3-year, $16.5 million contract. Singletary reunites with Brian Daboll. And Singletary's coming off of his best season. He was good with the Texans. Again, he's not Saquon Barkley, but at least the Giants have some sort of replacement for Barkley. And now we'll see there's maybe more moves to be made here, or maybe they're done and they're going to be looking to the draft. So we'll keep an eye on that. So other running back moves as well. Austin Ekeler going to the Commanders. I thought that was interesting. A 2-year, $11.43 million deal. You add him to go along with Brian Robinson. Again, Ekeler is more of a receiver back, so he's going to be used a lot in the passing game. He's coming off of a down 2023 season, but I think to pair him with Brian Robinson, that's not bad. And again, we'll see what the Commanders do at quarterback. They have a lot of cap space, so we'll see if they continue to spend. I know they brought in one of the offensive linemen from the Cowboys, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. DeAndre Swift actually got the day started. He signed a 3-year, $24.5 million deal with the Bears. I think that's a solid move for them. Swift is coming off of a good year with the Eagles. We still got to figure out what the Bears are going to do with Justin Fields, which we'll go more into in the second segment when we talk about Kirk Cousins and the quarterbacks that got signed, that signed new deals. But, Swift joins a backfield consisting of Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. They had Deontay Foreman last year, but he's not coming back. Swift is an upgrade there. The Bears got themselves a nice backfield. And, again, they got 2 top 10 picks. So, we'll see what they end up doing with both of them. The second pick that they have, they could go offensive lineman. Maybe they draft another receiver to go with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. But I like the direction the Bears are going in. But now we just got to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback. So another interesting move, Tony Pollard going to the Titans for a 3-year, $24 million deal. It was reported that Derrick Henry was unlikely to return to Tennessee, which we kind of figured. And he's the last big name that's standing right now. So we'll see where he ends up going. There's mutual interest between him and the Ravens, so we'll see if that ends up happening. The Ravens would definitely love to have Derrick Henry just because he's tormented them over the years in the playoff game that they played back at Lamar's first MVP. And then in 2020, the overtime game, Henry scored the game-winning touchdown in that game. But yeah, Tony Pollard, he's coming, another running back that did, have over 1,000 yards rushing, but kind of had a down year as well. We'll see how he fits with the Titans. They also have Tajay Spears there, who they drafted. So it'll be interesting to see how Tony Pollard fits with the Titans. I don't know how I feel about that. I thought he would go back to Dallas, but I guess Dallas just did not want him. And now Dallas right now, they got to figure out what they're going to do with their running back situation. And again, Derrick Henry is out there. So, I know Derrick Henry to Dallas was a rumor as well. But again, as a Giant fan, hoping he goes to the Ravens. That would be fine. Even though that would be at the expense of my dad's Steelers. But we'll keep an eye on that. And then a couple more signings. Gus Edwards going to the Chargers for a 2-year, $6.5 million contract. The Chargers are probably going to address the running back position in the draft. Gus Edwards, stepped up when the Ravens really needed him to. The Ravens dealt with a ton of injuries, at the running back position. I mean, they had to bring in Dalvin Cook and Melvin Gordon, and Gus Edwards was at least healthy this year. Justice Hill, J.K. Dobbins, of course, tearing his Achilles. Keaton Mitchell tearing his ACL. And it's gonna be interesting what the Chargers end up doing, because now Eckler's with the Commanders. They could possibly be trading Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So the Chargers are going to look a little different in 2024. So that was another deal. And then also Antonio Gibson. He signs with the Patriots for a 3-year, $11.25 million deal, likely forming a committee with Ramondre Stevenson. And Stevenson, of course, he got hurt during the year. Gibson, I mean, I remember his 2020. I mean, he had that, he had a couple of good games, and, myself and others thought, okay, Washington has their running back. And then he kind of just, took a step back, and, they draft Brian Robinson, and he kind of took over as the lead back, and Gibson kind of, phased out. He was returning kicks, I think. They were playing him on special teams. So now he goes to New England, and, we'll see how that goes. But they had another weapon there to go along with Ramondre Stevenson. So, yeah, running backs, they went nuts yesterday. I thought the biggest surprise for me was Josh Jacobs going to the Packers. I feel like that one just came out of nowhere. You kind of heard about Barkley, and the Eagles having interest in each other. So, I was hoping that wasn't going to be the case. I hope he ended up with the Texans. But, yeah, that's another team. We'll see what the Texans end up doing. Because a lot of the running backs are gone. Singletary, who, did a nice job for them, he's now with the Giants. I mean, Dameon Pierce, in his second season, he took a step back. So we'll see what they end up doing. I mean, I guess maybe the draft, or we'll see. Maybe they swoop in and get Derrick Henry. Also, actually, more running back news now that I just thought about it. So the Bengals, they ended up cutting Joe Mixon, and they signed Zach Moss. I'll get you the specifics of that deal as well. I almost forgot to mention that. Because there were some rumors out there that Joe Mixon was going to get cut, and he tweeted about it. But yeah, they ended up releasing him, and they signed Zach Moss to a 2-year, $8 million contract. So they're going to pair him with Chase Brown. That's going to be the duo going into next year. And Zach Moss did a nice job when Jonathan Taylor was out the first couple of games. And obviously the Bengals, they have some things they got to work out, which is something we'll talk about later in the show regarding T. Higgins. So Mixon's on the market. We'll see, where he ends up going. I'm sure there's a team that's going to pick him up. I don't think he's going to be the lead back. It's, wherever he ends up, it might just be like a committee type thing. But yeah, that was another running back move. But, Aaron Jones getting released by the Packers, and immediately you saw the Vikings had interest, so that was going to happen. So they swooped in and picked him up. So, yeah, but, I mean, yesterday, and that was only day one. I mean, everything that could happen happened, So, but, yeah, this is only the first segment. We still got 3 more segments to talk about. We got a lot of defensive guys that got signed, and, guys requesting trades and quarterbacks. There's a lot. And it's great. And we'll talk about, more stuff, throughout the week. this isn't going to be the only day that I just talk about these signings and then just not talk about them the rest of the offseason. We're going to go through them. We'll go through certain teams and what they did. Because the Packers, getting Josh Jacobs, and also, we'll talk about it later in the show, getting Xavier McKinney from the Giants. Safety was an issue for them, and they brought him in. They had a great day. The Falcons getting Kirk Cousins, which we will talk about in the next segment. That was good for them. There's a lot of things that we could talk about. But, so we're just getting started here. When we come back from our first break of the show, we will discuss Kirk Cousins signing with the Falcons, what that means, how does that impact the NFC South, and we'll talk about some of the other quarterback signings as well. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows where 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about Kirk Cousins signing a 4-year contract with the Atlanta Falcons. We'll also get into some of the other quarterback moves as well. So Kirk Cousins got 4 years, $180 million, with $100 million guaranteed. I know I talked about this yesterday, but I did say how the Vikings, and Kirk Cousins was going to test free agency. And, Kevin O'Connell said he has earned the right to do so. And also there was a talk that, Kirk Cousins would be willing to move his family down to Atlanta. And that's going to end up being the case. He signs with the Falcons. I did say I thought, he's probably going to go back to, maybe he goes back to Minnesota. They'll work something out. But no, the Falcons, they really wanted him. They got the deal done. $100 million guaranteed. There's a risk here because he is coming off of the Achilles injury. But if he comes back and he rebounds from that, the Falcons have, solid weapons on offense. I don't have to go through it. I failed to mention Algier, their other running back, because, you think Bijan Robinson. But Tyler Algier is also, they got a nice 1-2 combination there with those two guys, and then you have Drake London and Kyle Pitts. So I ended up just saying the weapons anyways. But, the Falcons are a team that in 2023 they needed a quarterback. And, you had Desmond Ridder, you went to Taylor Heineke, then back to Ridder, then back to Heineke, then back to it was all over the place last year. And if the Falcons had better quarterback play, maybe they end up winning the division. And if Kirk Cousins is healthy, I expect him to put up good numbers. But again, it's coming off of a significant injury. He's getting older. We'll see how he bounces back. This is interesting. It's an interesting spot for him. And listen, I think the Falcons, they might have the best roster in the division. But that just adds another team to it. When you look at the NFC South, you got the Panthers, who are kind of, in the distance, as I still look at them as the fourth best team. Sorry, holding back a sneeze. Again, I always say this. It's going to happen at least once on the show. But anyways, you have the Saints, the Falcons, and the Bucks. Right now, those are the Panthers again are unfortunately that last place team. That's something, and we'll talk about them, at some point. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, the Falcons, they split with both the Saints and the Bucks last year, and now you bring in Kirk Cousins. I mean, that kind of changes things, And the Bucks, obviously, they brought back Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans and Antoine Winfield Jr. The Saints, Derek Carr finished the season strong. The division is going to be better, especially, again, if Kirk Cousins is healthy. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But again, Kirk Cousins is coming off of a major injury, so you have to factor that in. But he could definitely elevate the games of Drake London. Maybe Kyle Pitts finally becomes that player that, many people have been expecting. Because, I mean, you had Matt Ryan towards the end of his career. I mean, you have, Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota and Taylor Heineke. I mean, now you got Kirk Cousins coming in. And we'll see what, how he elevates Kyle Pitts. And Drake London, obviously, is looked at as the number one wide receiver, and we'll see, how him and Kirk Cousins develop a connection. And, you expect more out of Bijan Robinson and Algier. So, it's a good move for the Falcons. I mean, they're kind of, they're taking a little bit of a risk, but they needed a quarterback, and they went out and got one. So I like the move. I mean, is it a little bit of an overpay? Yeah. Again, he's coming off of a major injury, but it's something they desperately needed. So, but now with that being said, what happens with Justin Fields? Because there were some other quarterback moves as well that were made. So Jacoby Brissett, he ended up going back to the Patriots. He signed a 1-year, $8 million deal. So, listen, if he ends up being like that bridge quarterback, I mean, I think that's a good move. Brissett's really bounced around since his first stint with the Patriots. I mean, he was most recently on the Commanders. He was on the Colts. The Colts traded for him, I believe. He was on the Dolphins. He was on the Browns. Trying to think who else he was on. I said the Commanders. So, yeah, he's bounced around. I think there's definitely another team I might be missing. But that was another deal that happened. So, again, if he ends up being that bridge quarterback, I mean, I don't think that's bad. I think he's one. I mean, he is right now a backup quarterback. I think he's one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. Yeah, no, I was right. Yeah, Colts, Dolphins, Browns, Commanders. Yeah, that's it. He wasn't on another team. I lied. And then the Raiders, they signed a Gardner Minshew to a 2-year, $25 million contract with $15 million guaranteed. There might be a competition there with him and Aiden O'Connell now. Because I also, apparently, the Raiders, they were looking to, now trade for Justin Fields. And I guess now with Minshew coming in, maybe that ends that whole thing. But we'll see. I mean, they might be looking to draft a quarterback. But, yeah, again, Minshew played well with the Colts. And I think this was a good move for them. I like the direction the Raiders are heading in. Adding pieces on defense. And, well, here's the thing now. Now you lost Josh Jacobs. So that's, that hurts. But, again, Zamir White, he showed some promise when Josh Jacobs was out. So, we'll see what we'll see what the Raiders end up doing. I mean, you probably figure that they're gonna, add another running back. But yeah, I mean, I like the direction that they're going in, and we'll see what they end up doing. Because I mean, I don't think Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew are the long-term answers, but I think that they could at least, you have some depth there if you draft a quarterback, and you can have him sit behind, Gardner Minshew. Because, the Colts, they almost made the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. And now Gardner Minshew steps into a situation where, you got some weapons on the offensive side. I mean, they did lose Josh Jacobs, but again, Zamir White did a nice job filling in when he got hurt. You got Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. Trey Tucker showed some flashes as well in his rookie season. And, and Michael Mayer, of course, coming off his rookie season. So, they got some talent on the offensive side of the ball. But again, losing Josh Jacobs hurts, so we'll see. And then also, again, where's Justin Fields going to end up? Then you're like, well, the Vikings don't have a quarterback. Well, the Vikings, they ended up signing Sam Darnold to a 1-year, $10 million contract. So right now, he's in line to be the starter. They could be looking to bring in more competition. But, okay, so my friend just said also Marcus Mariota signed with the Commanders. So, yeah, quarterbacks are moving around here. Let me just see. Yeah, so Marcus Mariota signed a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Commanders. And then also my friend sent a tweet from Josina Anderson. She said, I'm told the Browns, Titans, and Giants are among new teams that have shown preliminary interest in quarterback Jameis Winston. So that's interesting. So, yeah, we got quarterbacks moving all over the place. And that's some breaking news right there. It's Marcus Mariota going to the Commanders. That's not really, groundbreaking. But, that's they're just bringing him in, I guess, to be the backup. And, again, got to see what ends up happening with Sam Howell. Sam Howell could be another quarterback that's on the move. But who knows where he's going to end up. But, yeah, so Sam Darnold goes to the Vikings. Right now he's in line to be the starter, depending on what kind of competition they bring in. But, they sign Aaron Jones. And, again, how does this affect Justin Jefferson? Because I know Justin Jefferson, he wanted Kirk Cousins back. Now he's got Sam Darnold. So I don't know if he might want out, but we'll see. I think Sam Darnold is stepping into a good situation. Now you bring in Aaron Jones to be the running back. Had a great finish to the season, had a great postseason. You got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson. He's got a lot of weapons to throw to. I know he's going from San Francisco where he really didn't play, and they have a lot of weapons there, of course. But now you're stepping into a good situation here, so we'll see, how that all pans out. But yeah. Now with Justin Fields, what does that mean for him? Because there's not really a lot of teams out there right now. All the spots are kind of been filled. And, the Bears, what are they going to do? Could that scenario end up happening where they keep Fields and then they end up drafting Caleb Williams? Is that on the that might be on the table. So if that ends up happening, it's possible because where can he go? The Commanders maybe. We'll see. But again, they have Sam Howell, and they got the second pick. So I don't think they're gonna do it. Yeah, I don't know. The Patriots? I think the Patriots are probably gonna draft one. Yeah, I don't know. Also, actually, another quarterback signing. Tyrod Taylor signed with the Jets to be their backup quarterback. So the Jets bring in a legit backup quarterback to back up Aaron Rodgers, which I think is a good move. Tyrod, I thought, did well with the Giants, in his role. Now, again, you're hoping that we don't see that much of Tyrod Taylor because that would mean that Aaron Rodgers got hurt again, which we don't want. And listen, being a New York sports fan, yesterday was rough. Because the Jets lost Bryce Huff to the Eagles and Saquon going to the Eagles as well. And then, on the baseball side, if you're a Yankee fan, which I am, you didn't like what you heard. You're not liking what you're hearing from two of their best players. So, but that's baseball stuff. But yeah, for New York sports, it's been rough recently. But yeah, the Jets, like I said, they bring in an insurance policy for Aaron Rodgers. Mariota just signed with the Commanders. Sam Darnold to the Vikings. The big move, of course, is Kirk Cousins going to the Falcons. And again, still don't know what's going to happen with Justin Fields. That's right now up in the air. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, things can happen today. Yesterday just was crazy, but we're moving right along here. So with that being said, we are going to, well, before we take our second break of the show, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, when we come back from our second break of the show, we'll talk about a pair of wide receivers. We'll talk about T. Higgins requesting a trade from the Bengals, as well as Michael Pittman finalizing a new deal with the Indianapolis Colts. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are now going to talk about a pair of wide receivers, Michael Pittman getting a new deal with the Colts, as well as T. Higgins requesting a trade from the Bengals. So there obviously was speculation that, T. Higgins could be traded. I know when the Bengals franchise tagged him, at least for the moment, you're like, okay, they're keeping him around. And on top of that, the Bengals could be losing Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's a free agent. He could end up going somewhere else. Now, the Bengals did cut Joe Mixon to save money, so maybe that could help. I think losing T. Higgins would really hurt the Bengals. And on top of that, again, if you lose Tyler Boyd as well, you lose him, T. Higgins, and you cut Joe Mixon. That's a lot of your offense, and like I said, you're not going to be able to keep everybody. But yeah, I mean, contract talks have kind of stalled a little bit. The Bengals, I think, will try to work something out, but ultimately, if that doesn't happen, he can end up getting traded. Again, would love to see, the Giants end up with him. That would be great because the Giants are desperate for wide receivers, but only one person can dream of that. But yeah, I mean, T. Higgins, of course, dealt with some injuries last season. But when he's healthy, I mean, you see the talent. He's really good. So whoever ends up with him, if he does indeed get traded, you're getting a really good wide receiver. So I mean, again, that's another thing that we got to keep an eye on is, T. Higgins ultimately, getting traded if that ends up happening. Does he play under the franchise tag for 2024? I mean, the way it's going, probably not. But we'll see. But then you also have Michael Pittman. So he finalized a 3-year, $70 million contract with a max value of $71.5 million, including $46 million guaranteed with the Colts. The Colts used the franchise tag on him, and they were able to work out a long-term deal with him. He is, in Colts history, he ranks among the top 6 in receptions alongside legends like Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, and T.Y. Hilton. Pittman recorded a career high in 109 catches for 1,152 yards, and he had 28.2% of the team's total targets. So yeah, and listen, they're going to be getting Anthony Richardson back. Now, obviously, Gardner Minshew's now with the Raiders, and Minshew did a nice job filling in for Richardson. So the Colts are hoping that Anthony Richardson can stay healthy in 2024. But yeah, the Colts couldn't afford to lose him. They still got guys on the team like they drafted Josh Downs and Alec Pierce. Losing Michael Pittman definitely, would hurt. And obviously you're hoping to get a full year out of Jonathan Taylor as well. They did lose Zach Moss. And, like I said in the first segment, Zach Moss did a nice job, when Jonathan Taylor missed the first couple of games. So, but that was important for the Colts to keep him around, but yeah, and then the other deal as well. So Gabe Davis, he ended up getting a deal with the Jaguars. So I think that kind of means that Calvin Ridley's probably gone. The Jags did want to bring him back, but then now it seems like he's probably not going to come back. So let me see if I can find that deal. It was like one of the first deals of the day. Oh yeah, here he is. So they signed Gabe Davis to a 3-year contract. He had 746 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns in 2023. After a career best 836 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns in 2022. But yeah, injuries kind of hurt him. So yeah, he's going to be basically Calvin Ridley's replacement. So he joins Christian Kirk, who the Jaguars obviously paid a couple of off seasons ago. Running backs was really the story yesterday, and defense, and I guess quarterbacks. Well, receivers, things are kind of stalled a little bit, but these are really the major things. Gabe Davis, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins. Unless I'm missing another one, but yeah, I think the biggest thing out of the three is T. Higgins. So it's going to be interesting how the Bengals navigate through that whole situation, because again, Joe Burrow's new deal hasn't kicked in yet. They got to pay Jamar Chase, which they really want to. They're not looking to lose him. So yeah, ultimately T. Higgins might be the odd man out. Again, Joe Mixon being released, that helps. So maybe, they end up working out a deal with T. Higgins, and then maybe you end up keeping paying Jamar Chase as well. Listen, the Bengals weren't a good running team in 2023. When Burrow's healthy, they're going to be slinging the ball. They're not really going to be running it. They're not a run-first team. We know this. They're going to be throwing it. I thought bringing Zach Moss in on a cheap deal, him coming off of a good year with the Colts, Chase Brown was making plays towards the end of the year. So, I think they'll be fine. As long as Burrow's healthy. Burrow's got to be healthy. If Burrow's not healthy, then, forget everything I'm saying right now. But, you don't want to lose T. Higgins. And if that ends up happening, it's going to be tough to replace him. But again, they have to pay Jamar Chase. Again, I would probably, tell Tyler Boyd, maybe you want to stick around. Because, I don't know what he's going to be commanding for. I don't know what kind of contract he's going to end up getting. But I think wherever he ends up, he's going to be productive. He's been a good wide receiver for the Bengals. So I'm curious to see if he does end up going somewhere else, or do the Bengals end up trying to get him back. But we'll see. With the Bills now losing Gabe Davis, it looks like, Khalil Shakir might be the guy that steps up, as that number 2 wide receiver. He definitely had some good games down the stretch for the Bills as they, went on that playoff run, running the table basically. We'll see how, Gabe Davis fits with Jacksonville. The Bills, I think they need to make another, maybe make a move for a wide receiver. We'll see what they end up doing. But, and then the Colts, like I said, getting Pittman back, that was important. So, we'll again, that was only day one. So much happened. And again, it's great that we have, a lot to talk about because, I know since now, between the Super Bowl and now, there definitely were some tough days to come up with topics. But, we were able to navigate through it, and now we got so much to talk about for the next couple of weeks. And then not too long after that is the draft. So, and like I said, that was only day one. there was a ton of stuff happened, a ton of surprises. And, listen, T. Higgins requesting a trade, he could end up getting traded. And Brandon Ayuk, we'll see what happens with him. Does he end up getting traded as well? Again, it's stuff we'll keep an eye on, but, a couple wide receivers did get paid. We still got to see where Calvin Ridley ends up. I'm curious to see. I think the Patriots were a team to watch out for with him. The Panthers as well. So, again, for fantasy purposes, that's something that, I have him in one of my dynasty leagues. That's something I don't want to hear because, the season the Panthers are coming off of, and the Patriots right now don't have a quarterback unless it's going to be Jacoby Brissett starting. They are going to probably draft one. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But he's probably, unless I'm missing somebody else, he's probably the biggest wide receiver that's out there, at least free agent wise. So, we'll just have to keep an eye on where he ends up. I think also the Titans as well. I think the Titans were also another team. I know the Patriots and the Panthers. I know I definitely remember seeing a tweet about those two teams, but the Titans could be another possibility. I don't know. I think there were 4 teams listed, and I think the Titans maybe were one of them. But I know the first 2 I said were definitely. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on what else has been going on. Again, it's nice to actually say things are happening live. Well, even the only one that happened since I started doing the show was Mariota signing with the Commanders. But maybe something else will happen. Oh, something else did happen, actually. Mike Gesicki signed a deal with, was that the Bengals? I believe so. Let me go back to the NFL's, because I have another account opened up on Instagram. Let's see. Mike Gesicki signed with he signed with the Bengals. Yeah, 1-year deal. Okay. That's not bad. I know they brought in Irv Smith Jr. From the Vikings, and he really didn't pan out. But bringing in Gesicki, who spent the previous year with the Patriots, I think that's an okay move for them. I think pairing him with Joe Burrow, I think they could do well together. So we'll see. We'll see. So that's another breaking move. Breaking news move. That's great. That's great. But that's more on the tight end side. But we could pair that in with receivers. They're both pass catchers. So yeah. There's no. I didn't see the specifics of the deal. It just says 1-year deal. So I'm assuming we'll find out the details shortly. But yeah. That's pretty much it when talking about the wide receivers here. Let me know what you guys think. Does T. Higgins ultimately end up getting traded? And if he does, where do you think would be a good fit for him? Michael Pittman, what do you guys think about the new deal with the Colts? What are your expectations for him and Anthony Richardson? What can they do together over the course of a full season together? I said together twice. Gabe Davis, how does he fit with the Jaguars? Let me know. But yeah, so we'll take our final break. And when we come back, got a lot of moves to talk about with defense. Because there was a ton of guys on defense signing. Trades that were made as well. I know I mentioned it before, the Giants getting Brian Burns, which, that gained some traction and it ended up happening. So, obviously the Giants did end up losing Saquon Barkley, but I don't know. They might be building something on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll talk about that. The Vikings signed a pair of defenders. The Packers, they added Xavier McKinney. I know, and we'll get into a bunch of other signings as well. And I also did mention Bryce Huff, also the Eagles signing him. So yeah, ton of defensive signings that that we will get into. I brought them up just now, but we'll go into more detail with them when we come back from our final break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to recap pretty much all of the defensive signings and, well, trades as well from yesterday. So I did want to start off by talking about the trade that went down between the Giants and the Carolina Panthers. So the Giants acquired defensive end Brian Burns from the Panthers. Gave him a 5-year contract worth up to $150 million with $87.5 million guaranteed. The Panthers will receive a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. Again, this is just pending approval from the league because obviously the new league year officially starts. I think it's Thursday. It's Wednesday or Thursday, or tomorrow or Thursday. But yeah, so that's just pending for approval. But what's interesting is CBS's Instagram posted this. So the Rams offered a trade to the Panthers to try to get. I was thinking Brian Burns, because baseball season is about to start. But anyways, so the Rams, they offered the Panthers a 2024 first round pick. This is back in November of 2022. So the Rams offered the Panthers a 2024 first-round pick, a 2025 first-round pick, and a 2023 second-round pick. And the Panthers declined the offer. Now, the Giants, they offered the Panthers a 2024 second-round pick, which is the 39th overall pick in the draft, and a 2025 fifth-round pick, and the Giants ended up getting Burns out of that. So, yeah, the Panthers kind of hurt themselves there. Maybe should have dealt Brian Burns when the Rams came calling, but that's fine. I'll take it. Giants are looking to, of course, bolster their pass rush. They pair him with Kayvon Thibodeau, which I think is going to be great. And you also got Dexter Lawrence up the middle as well. So the Giants are really building a nice defensive line there. The Giants' defensive line only had 34 sacks in 2023. Burns is turning 20. He's 25 years old. He's turning 26 in April. He led the Panthers in sacks for the second consecutive year, recording 8 sacks along with 18 quarterback hits and 16 tackles for loss. The Panthers kind of hesitated to trade him, but ultimately that ended up happening. First-round pick in 2019, 46 sacks, 95 quarterback hits, and 59 tackles for loss in 80 career games, demonstrating consistency and durability throughout his career. Listen, again, Giant fans were upset, losing Saquon Barkley. But, listen, the Giants could be building something on that defensive side. Like I said, you're pairing Burns now with Kayvon Thibodeau. You got Dexter Lawrence on that defensive line. Bobby Okereke, as one of their linebackers. And, he started off a little bit slow, but he turned out to be a good signing, at least in year one. Deonte Banks had a good rookie season. So the Giants are building something. The defense can be promising. It's the offense that really needs some work. And I know they signed John Runyon from the Packers and on the interior. He also signed the tackle from the Raiders as well. So at least they're addressing the offensive line. You also did bring in Devin Singletary, but yeah, the offense still needs some work. But at least on the defensive side, the defense is heading in the right direction. And we'll see, now with Wink Martindale not being there, how is it going to be under the new defensive coordinator, who was with the Titans. So the other deal, so now let's talk about signings. So Christian Wilkins, he signed a 4-year, $110 million deal with the Raiders, $84.75 million guaranteed. I mean, I think that's a good signing for the Raiders. In 2022, he made NFL history by recording 98 tackles, setting a single season record for a defensive tackle. So despite his stellar performance against the run, Wilkins faced criticism for his lack of success as a pass rusher, registering only 11.5 sacks in his career up to that point. I guess this is, because this talks about 2019, I guess, but Wilkins addressed the critique in 2023 by recording a career-high 9 sacks, ranking 4th in the league among defensive tackles and showcasing his versatility as a disruptive force on the defensive line. So, yeah, now you pair him with Max Crosby, and the Raiders are building a nice defensive line themselves. So that was I thought that was a good signing for the Raiders. Like I said, I like the direction they're going in. Again, got to figure out the quarterback situation, but, again, I like the direction that they're heading in. So the Packers, like I said, they signed former Giants safety now, Xavier McKinney, to a 40-year, $68 million contract. Safety was something that the Packers needed to address, and they went out and did that. He actually had the highest coverage grade, 91.2 among all safeties in the NFL in 2023, according to Pro Football Focus. He excels in both pass coverage and run defense, ranking 7th among all defensive backs and tackles with 116 in 2023. The Packers made some splashes in free agency. Getting Josh Jacobs. And again, safety was a need for them, and they went out and they addressed that. So that was a good move for the Packers. The 49ers, they went out and they signed pass rusher Leonard Floyd to a 2-year, $20 million contract. And this actually comes off of another move that they made that I thought was a little bit surprising. They actually ended up releasing Eric Armstead. So they bring in Leonard Floyd. I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't know that would end up happening, but it did. But yeah, his cap hit was set to jump to $28.4 million if he was kept on the roster. So again, that was just a cap casualty. But Armstead's a good player, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. But yeah, the 49ers, they bring in Leonard Floyd. He had a standout season in 2023, recording 10.5 sacks, tying his career high. So, and obviously you're bringing him in to pair with Nick Bosa. So that was a good move for him for the 49ers. So we'll see. And then the Buffalo Bills, they actually did re-sign AJ Epinenza on a 2-year contract. Was solid in 2023. 6.5 sacks, 5 batted passes, 2 interceptions. So that was big for the Bills to at least get him back. So we'll move on now. We'll talk about now. So the Eagles now, listen, defense was a problem for them last year. And, now you had Fletcher Cox retiring. They did re-sign Brandon Graham to a 1-year deal, but they bring in Bryce Huff, defensive end from the Jets, 3-year, $51.1 million deal. Coming off of a solid year with the Jets. In 2023, recorded a career-high 10 sacks and an impressive 68 quarterback pressures in just 312 pass rushes, resulting in a league-leading 21.8% pressure percentage. He's only 26. He's going to be 26 in April. Still very young, but yeah, the Eagles' defense is something they needed to address, and they went out and did that. So that was a good signing for them. And then the Vikings, they brought in a pair of defenders. So they signed Jonathan Greenard, who was with the Texans. They signed him to a 4-year deal, $76 million. Former third-round pick out of Florida in the 2020 draft. He spent the first 4 years of his career with the Texans. And, yeah, he finished with 12 and a half sacks on the season. Also, 53 quarterback pressures. So they added him. And they also added Andrew Van Ginkel from the Dolphins as well to a 2-year, $20 million contract with $14 million guaranteed. In 5 seasons with the Dolphins, 250 tackles, 17 sacks, 57 quarterback hits, 2 interceptions. He is ranked 43rd on the Pro Football Talks list of top 100 free agents. So, yeah, a couple of defensive signings there. The Vikings, defense, that's been a problem the last couple of years. At least in 2023, showed improvement with Brian Flores taking over. But now you add Greenyard and Van Ginkel to that defense, and they were both coming off of good 2023 seasons. So those were good signings as well. So, I mean, the Vikings, you look at their roster, what are they really missing right now? Again, we'll see what they do in the draft, but I know they bring in Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold I don't think is the long-term answer, unless he really, balls out. And again, how is that going to impact Justin Jefferson now with Kirk Cousins leaving? So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I know that was a lot of information that I went through, but yeah, a lot of things happen just in day one. So we'll keep an eye on what ends up happening in day 2. Again, I think one of the big things that still hasn't happened yet is where's Justin Fields ultimately going to end up. I mean, again, there's that scenario where the Bears keep that number 1 pick and they keep Justin Fields. But they're going to have to do something. But I don't know where's Fields going to end up, because the quarterback spots are all filled. So we'll see. That's something to definitely keep an eye on. But, yeah, that was another team that I liked, what they did, the Vikings. Bringing in Aaron Jones as well. I like what they did. But, unfortunately, yeah, you ended up losing Kirk Cousins. So, and, Sam Darnold, I mean, again, if you got, T.J. Hawkinson's also coming back off of I think a torn ACL. So, hopefully he bounces back. Justin Jefferson, hopefully, he doesn't request a trade. You still got Jordan Addison there. You bring in Aaron Jones. So, yeah, I like what the Vikings have been able to do so far, except, again, losing Kirk Cousins is, kind of unfortunate. But, we'll see. Maybe Sam Darnold ends up being the starter. But, yeah, I liked what the Vikings did on defense, the Packers, what they were able to do. I mean, again, the Giants ended up losing Barkley, but, you signed a couple of offensive linemen. You traded for Brian Burns. You're building a nice defensive line there. Hopefully the offensive line can finally come along, but how many times have we been saying that? The Eagles bringing in Barkley and getting a Bryce Huff, making New York sports fans depressed, signing a really good defensive player, and the Giants' best offensive player. Like I said, it's been rough for New York sports recently. But, yeah, you got to like what the Eagles did. Again, we'll see now. I mean, listen, the Eagles' offensive line is still solid, but losing Jason Kelce is big. Barkley's going to do well with the Eagles if he stays healthy because, I mean, this is going to be the best offensive line that he's going to be running behind. The Falcons, again, Kirk Cousins, that's big. And the big thing for them is they just got to hope he's healthy. Because if he's healthy, he's going to put up good numbers, and this team is going to be in the thick of it in the NFC South. And where they rank among the teams in the NFC, I mean, again, the conference isn't loaded like it has been in years past. So, if Kirk Cousins ends up being solid, and if he ends up being healthy and playing how he was playing before he got hurt, the Falcons could definitely be, a threat. I think you still the 49ers are, in a class of their own right now, and then there's everybody else. But, the Falcons can definitely make some noise. But again, Kirk Cousins has got to be healthy. And if he is, I expect him to put up good numbers. So, but yeah, with that is all the time that we have for today. Again, a lot of stuff to cover today. More moves are expected to be made throughout the week, and we'll make sure to talk about them. Like I said, I know I kind of just ran through all of them, but we'll go into more detail with some of the things. There's, specific things that I want to talk about with some of the signings. I know, Tiki Barber had a lot to say about Barkley going to the Eagles, so we'll get into that at some point. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, and until then, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that